There was a little girl in church with her mother when she began to feel ill. "Mummy," she said, "can we leave now?" "No, not now," her mother replied. "Well, I think I'm going to be sick," exclaimed the girl. "Okay, go out of the front door and around to the back of the church and go behind a bush there," said her mother. After about 60 seconds, though, the little girl returned to her seat. "Were you sick?" her mother asked. "Yes," the little girl replied. "Well, how could you have gone all the way out of the church, round to the back, and returned back to me so quickly?" her mother asked. "Well, I didn't have to go out of the church, Mummy. They have a box next to the front door, and it says on it, 'For the sick.'" Have you ever noticed that church can be a place for misunderstandings, even to the extent of what the church is actually here for? What is it all about? Why do we exist at all? Now, what's tended to happen in a lot of churches over maybe the last 50 years or more has been to think that church is all about a spectacle, that it's all about a Sunday worship service. Now, in no way am I saying this isn't important, but if we think that that's all there is to it, then we're tragically failing the world. Services are valuable and can be beautiful and meaningful, but should it really be the primary focus? Should it be everything we're about? What about discipleship? What about close and supportive relationships? What about serving a world in need? So the key question for us then, especially at this time, is what does it really mean to be the church? When it all comes down, what if we thought of ourselves more as a movement than as an institution? I'm going to suggest 3 facets which the church at its best as movement has displayed through the ages. Now, there are many more for sure, but there certainly aren't any less. And those 3 facets are worship, community, and mission. Maybe those 3 things will help us navigate our way forward, at least for the time being. So worship and prayer, the ways we relate to God, are going to be central. There are so many ways to worship, and there are so many ways to pray. Let's not discount any of those. There's a depth and a richness there that could certainly serve as well. Also central is working hard at what it means to be a community. The quality of relationships is so important. Creating an environment where we can all grow and where we can all flourish. I spoke a little about this last week, talking about us working in groups called bubbles as a helpful vehicle for us. If you've not seen that video, it is on the website. Take a look. And finally, mission. Continuing the work of Jesus in the world, helping people to connect with God, helping people follow Jesus and serve the world in practical ways, bringing hope to the hopeless and bringing light into the darkness are all things that we, I think, should be about. Here at St David's, we've been clear for a few years now on what God is asking us to do. And it's in our 3-word mission statement: praise, nurture, serve. It's no accident, I don't think, that those 3 words could be substituted with worship, community, and mission. So the good news is that we are on the right track. So then, as we work out what it means to be the church in this coronavirus age, it's vital that we know what's central for us. It's vital we know why we're here, what we're here for, and that we have a clear vision for the future. I'll be talking a little more about a specific vision for us next week. But once we're confident in who we are and in what our essentials are, and once we have a clear picture of the future, then we can start to work out how we're going to get there. But today I want to suggest just one more thing which I believe is so important for us. And there's a clue to it in today's gospel reading with the mustard seed and the yeast, both of which are tiny but which have such great potential. Throughout the Bible, the emphasis is so often on the small, on the weak, the marginalised. Frequently we see this in the Old Testament. Here's just one example from the prophet Micah. With what shall I come before the Lord and bow down before the exalted God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000 rivers of olive oil? Shall I offer my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. The small things, you see, are important. We see it in the life of Jesus and the things he did. We could even say that in Jesus, God himself became smaller. He certainly limited himself to flesh and blood. Sociologists believe that the future in the Western world is going to be quite different to the past. Our most powerful communities will be understood through the lens of decentralized networks rather than centralized institutions. So grassroots and smaller groups of people will be what really impacts society, they say. And we really can't ignore that, I don't think. Every generation needs to critique the church it's inherited. We need to seek inspiration from the New Testament church and create the church of today and tomorrow. COVID-19 is perhaps shaking up the whole church to remember that truth. So I wonder, in the pandemic limited world we're living in, could small be the new big? Could it be that we need more but smaller expressions of church, all linked closely together? Does the church nationally need to think about this too, without all the overheads and structures and expense? Maybe to be a church for everyone, it needs to be simplified so it can express itself in varying and sustainable ways. Expressions of church like that can be agile, flexible and empowered. Maybe being like that will free us to be the Jesus movement, the movement he wants for a COVID and for a post-COVID world. Have you ever been to a child or to a grandchild's school play? A school play is wonderful, but it isn't wonderful because it's perfect. It's wonderful because it's the sincere and collective labour of our little ones. Maybe the local church should be the simplest expression of church. Maybe it doesn't always need to be polished. Maybe warmth, honesty, friendship and love in action are the really important things. Beautifully imperfect, organic rather than manufactured. And what if each and every one of us imagined ourselves as equally responsible for the formation of the church? So for everyone there's full belonging, full participation and a full stake in its development. So let's not constrain ourselves right now. Let's be drawn by hope and not paralysed by fear of the future. Let's learn to dream big dreams with and for God. Dreams where worship is about the lordship of Jesus, not necessarily about liturgy and singing. Where it's about offering our whole lives to him. Where worship is repentance, faith, surrender and obedience all rolled into one. It's much bigger than a service. Let's dream about community as true and deep relationships between people who are learning to live the way of Jesus. Life lived in genuine love and common purpose. Let's dream dreams where mission is about engagement with the poor and the hurting parts of this world. It's about seeing our lives as contributing to the mission and purpose of God in the world. Could we be a worshipping, praying community on mission, maybe even an extended family, worshipping and bringing hope to the world together? Now, trying to become community can often be elusive. The best way often to form community is to actually do something together. That's how bonds are really formed and deepened. Now, in the New Testament, the word most often used to describe church is ecclesia or ecclesia. Now that isn't a religious word, it's actually a secular or social term. Jesus first uses it in Matthew 16, but it's used a lot through the New Testament. The root meaning of ecclesia isn't simply a gathering of people, it's a gathering of people to accomplish something. A gathering of people, in other words, who have a shared task. Now Jesus says he will build his church, and he gives it a cosmic commission. In fact, I firmly believe the church will become increasingly defined by service, by doing what God is calling us to do in and for a hurting world. Worshipping, supporting each other and serving others will in itself build true community. And that is going to be easier, and it's going to be more focused if we belong to small units of people as well as the larger church body. COVID-19 has changed so much, hasn't it? In every walk of life. But can you see how it presents a real opportunity to us too? It's an opportunity to work together to create something beautiful, something new, something which is perhaps simpler and which operates well in small units of people as well as the large. So let's grasp this opportunity with both hands and let's work it out together. Let's make this road by walking it, living out our call to be a family, a worshipping, praying community on mission, joining in with God as he works to make all things new.